So I've told this story a couple of times, but it's such a great story about the synchronicity of the universe. John Alston and I went to a dinner at the Judeo-Christian Outreach Center, and they have a dinner there when you pick dates when you'll serve the homeless people. And we sat at a table, and a man came and sat by a table, and he had this book, and it looked with a picture of a great Hindu teacher. And we recognized that this is somebody we should know. We didn't exactly know who it was, but we asked, and Ravi happened to sit next to us with his picture of Sai Baba. And so we got to talking and found that he ran a center for Sai Baba in Hampton Roads. And like we like to do every time we meet great souls when we're out and about, we meet great souls, we like to bring them home. And so we brought Ravi home, and now he's become a member of the fellowship and a great speaker who we enjoy here very much. So Ravi has been initiated into spirituality through the Satya Sai Center of Hampton Roads, where he has held several positions for the last 25 years. He owes his gratitude to his divine master, Bhagwan Satya Sai Baba, for his guidance and grace. Professionally, he is a professor and chairman in the Department of Computer Science at Old Dominion University, where he has been teaching for 34 years. He has also been a regular member now of the Fellowship of the Inner Light for 3 years, the Synchronicity of the Universe. His topic today is the spiritual lessons from the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa is an enlightened soul who lived from 1836 to 1886 in West Bengal, India. He had inspired several people in the path of devotion during his time, and his message has been carried throughout the world by Ramakrishna Mission. And his favorite student, Swami Vivekananda, was a key figure in the introduction of the Indian philosophies of non-dualism and yoga to the Western world. Let's welcome Ravi. I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. Ravi, our friend and teacher.
Thank you, Sharon, and thanks to the Fellowship of Inner Light for inviting me once again to share some of what I know. Obviously, I'm not an expert, but I thought it's a good idea to share what I know. So, because we're all in the spiritual journey, and it's a good idea to share what we know, so that each of us can progress. So that's the idea of this talk. And before I start, I would like to offer my thanks to Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba, who has been the guide and guru, teacher, everything in my life so far. I would like to thank him. And so today the topic is, as Sharon said, spiritual lessons from the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. And some of you may have heard about him or maybe not. It doesn't really matter. And again, as Sharon mentioned, he lived from 1836 to 1886, just 50 years of life. So I will, in the next 30 minutes, I will try to go through his life and try to sort of share with you some of the practices he has done, which finally led him to where he was at the end. So that's really the idea of this talk. And briefly, once again, before I say why I chose Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, was a couple of reasons. One is that Satya Sai Baba has a high regard for Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and in several of his discourses he used to praise him, saying that here is a gentleman, a villager, from Calcutta, from West Bengal. While West Bengal is known for producing lot of reformers and lot of great teachers and lot of great people, highly educated people. But Sai Baba said, out of all the people, why does everybody remember today Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who is an illiterate, compared to all the educated and wealthy people from West Bengal? So he was basically saying that, see, that is what, so he puts him as a sort of example to show that you don't need any education for spiritual enlightenment. That's what Sai Baba was trying to tell in this. Also, Shirdi Sai Baba, some of you may know, heard of Shirdi Sai Baba. When in 86, he had left his body for 3 days, and he told his devotees that I am going to leave my body, and if I don't come back in 3 days, then you can burn it, but I will come back. So for all purposes, he was dead for 3 days. And as the hour was coming closer, everybody was worried about it. Is he going to come back, or is he not going to come back? And finally, all the people who were opposed to him said, oh, it's better to burn the body, we can keep the body for a long time and all that stuff. And of course he did come, and when his devotees asked him, where did you go? He said, I have Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is going to leave his body, so I have gone to visit him and spend time with him. So this is the significance of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, that both sides had high regard for him. So let's see who is this Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And first, again, he is a villager from a poor family, sort of middle class or poor family, village in West Bengal, and very innocent person. So for the 15 years of his life, he lived in the village, and he is one who did not like education too much, the formal education he did not like too much. And he used to, of course, have a lot of fun. He used to be enjoying plays, putting in plays, and he liked sculpting. And he was a great singer, so he used to sing lot of God songs, divine songs, and he was also a good storyteller, and therefore everybody in the village used to love him, and so that was how he spent his life just like a normal person and enjoying his life. And at the age of 7, when he was 7, his father passed away. And then the eldest son actually sort of took responsibility to feed the family. And it was a big family. They had 4 kids and a mother. So elder son, his name was Ram Kumar, he was taking care of it. And at the age of 9, there was a ceremony called, it's like Bar Mitzvah, it's called Upanayanam or thread ceremony. And as part of that, what they have to do is that it's like taking renunciation, sort of, just for that day. And so he has to beg. And the first begging, it's very important who you beg from first person. And generally they take alms from people who are sort of learned people, something like that, very respectable people. But he insisted that he is just a 9-year-old boy. In spite of all his family members asking him to take from somebody more renowned, he said, I am going to take from the daughter of a blacksmith. She used to be a servant girl who took care of him when he was growing up. And he promised to her that when this event happens, I am going to take the first arm from you. He promised her when he was young. When he was only 4-year-old, he promised this. Sure enough, when he was 9, when this turn came, in spite of opposing everybody else, he said, no, I insist that I go to. So he went to their hut. He went to her hut, the blacksmith, very poor lady, and he took the arms from her just to keep the promise. So that is one of his biggest characteristics, is keeping truth. He said that if you say something, you must keep it. To the extent that he said, casually sometimes I tell people, I am going to come over tonight. Casually he says that. And then he realizes by the time that they are not even in town. But he said it doesn't matter. I told them I am going to come. So he simply used to walk to their house and return back, knowing very well that they are not at home. But he said, So the value he has given to the truth is absolutely amazing. I think that is definitely something we can learn. And also he had a couple of experiences during his, even when he was young. Yeah. So when he was about 5-year-old, he was walking the fields. And then nobody was there. He was just walking. You know, in a village, it's a small village. People go around the way they wanted. He was walking, and it was dark. Clouds were there, and suddenly a group of white cranes were flying in the sky. And seeing the white cranes against the background of the black clouds, he simply just went into. He became unconscious. Just the sight of it brought him unconsciousness, and he fell down. And at the time, his father was still alive, and somebody told him that, oh, your son fell, and then they thought maybe he has a problem. So they brought him home, because they don't know anything about spirituality, that you could actually become, you could see the divine and well, they didn't know that, neither he. And then, so his father watched him for a few more days to see, does he have a problem, does he repeat? He did not repeat. So he was all right. So father was said, well, we don't need to take any medication. Looks like he's all right now. And once again, around the age of 10, he was walking. The women folks used to love him because he used to sing songs, sing divine songs, tell stories. So once his mom and the other village women were going to the next village to a temple for some ceremony. So as they were walking, they always want him to accompany them so that he can sort of engage them in all the stories and sing nice songs. So as they were going, again suddenly one of the things was the moment he takes a divine name, he just falls off. So he was just singing a song in the praise of the goddess who they are going to visit. He's on the way, and suddenly he became unconscious. And of course, they're all women, they're all worried, hey, what's happening, and all that stuff. Slowly they carried him, and only one of the ladies in the group realized that this is really not a health issue, it's more a spiritual issue. Only one of the ladies recognized it. So he had this kind of sort of losing consciousness. Again, in the Sanskrit term for this is Samadhi. Samadhi means it's not really unconscious, because unconscious means you have no sense of the senses. And when we say conscious, generally we are in conscious, which basically means I am aware of my senses, I am aware of my body. Samadhi is really super consciousness, where you have senses working, but you don't pay any attention to the senses because you are seeing the reality of it. For example, if you see the divine in the whole place, then you don't pay much attention to what you see physical eyes or what you hear from physical ears. So that is what real Samadhi is. So he sort of used to go off, and later on you'll see it happened more later on life than at the beginning. In the early first 15 years of his life, only twice this happened. But he had no idea what it is, nor his family knew what it was. They thought it was just an accident, and they just went on. And then what happened was, because now the eldest son, as I said, was the one who was taking care of the family, suddenly he realized that he is unable to they don't have enough money to even feed the family. So he decided to go to Calcutta, because they are in a village. Calcutta is a big town, and that is when the Britishers were there. You can have some business. So he decided to go and start a Sanskrit school, so that he can teach some kids, and then he'll get some fee, and then he can send money back to the village. And so he started that, and after a year or so, but he was always worried about his younger brother, who is this Ramakrishna. He was worried because this guy was not interested in studies. He is just going around having joyful life. He said, what is he going to make in life? So I better bring him to Calcutta and let him make something out of him. So he asked Ramakrishna to come to Calcutta and stay with him. And since he is running the school, he said, well, we need more money. And in India, especially among Hindus, we have a lot of events that happen. And for all these events, we need to invite a priest. Okay, so the priest will come and do some worshipping at home with the family, do that kind of thing, very ritualistic. So and that's a good, and then they are paid money, of course, for this. So he told his brother, well, we need more money, why don't you do this job? Because I am invited, but I cannot go, why don't you go? So he used to go to these households who invite, and then he used to do the worship. Of course, he loves it. He loves anything divine, he loved it. So he used to go sing songs, do the worship, and then thing is, see, most of the priests today, they are professionals. They just come for 1 hour because, say, let's say you are paying them $50. They'll say, well, 1 hour is $50. I'll do it quickly. I'll go to the next engagement. It became more professional. But Ramakrishna was not like that. He goes there, he does the thing, he sings songs, and then he starts telling stories. He gets involved with the whole thing for the entire day there, and then comes home. Because for him, money is really nothing. He's just doing it because his brother wants to, sort of help his family. And life goes on for this. Life goes on like this for about 5 years. So now he's about 20 years old. And this is where the turning point has come in his life. So far he's a very normal kid, just enjoying life. And what happens is that in that Calcutta, there is a rich family. The lady's name is Rani Rasamani. She is a rich lady, wealthy lady. And she has a son-in-law who is a very efficient guy. His name is Mathur Babu. I'll tell you why I'm telling this name. So this rich lady, who is also a devoted person, was planning to go to Banaras for a trip to visit the goddess in Banaras, which is a long trip. And just the next day she was supposed to go, and that night she had a dream in which the goddess appears in her dream and says that there is no need to go on this trip all the way. Instead, I would like you to construct a temple for me right here on the near the Ganges. Okay, and then of course it was so the words in the dream were so clear that she said, this is the message from the goddess. And so she immediately stopped her trip. She cancelled her trip going next day, and then she started planning for the temple. And so on the banks of Ganges, and this place is, of course, you cannot pronounce, but I'm going to pronounce it for you. It's called Dakshineshwar. That is the place. It's on the banks of the Ganges. And then she buys a place. It was owned by some Britishers before, and then she buys the place, and then starts building a huge temple and a garden. It's all in some rooms for people to come and stay. She built the house. She built this big temple, huge temple. It is still now there. And then now next question is, she needs to get a priest for the temple, and she wants to get the best priest. And so she hears of this. She comes to know of Ramakrishna's brother, who is Ram Kumar, to be a very spiritual guy and a good priest. So she invites him to come and join and be the priest at the temple. Of course, for Ram Kumar, the brother, the main thing is, well, they are going to pay, right? And he said, Sanskrit school is not running well. Let me close it and come become a priest here. So he becomes a priest here, and he also asks his brother to come and stay with him. Brother said, okay. And then slowly what happens is, the brother, the Ramakrishna Paramahansa, because he is staying there, he wanted him, they also said, why don't we also give you a job here? And they want him to become the priest of the temple also. And but the thing is, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, in India, idols, for example, in the temples, they are all decorated with valuable jewels. Valuable jewels are decorated to the idol. And Ramakrishna Paramahansa did not want to do anything with money or wealth or anything that's valuable. So he refused to take that position, because he said, if I take the position, I also have to be responsible for all the jewels. And I have no interest in doing this business. And this Mathur Babu, as I said, the son-in-law Mathur Babu, somehow God gets impressed with this boy who is just 20 years old. Just gets impressed with him and says that, okay, let's come up with a deal. you don't take care of the jewels, I'll employ somebody else to take care of the jewels. You just do the worshipping. So he starts worshipping the Kali. See, again, Divine Mother is what I'm going to use the word. Mother, it's a Kali, K-A-L-I is the name of the goddess. And so he starts doing, he becomes a priest for that goddess, for this temple, because there are so many other temples in the same precinct, same place. They have a Krishna temple, they have a Rama temple, they have a Shiva temple and all that. But he was responsible for this. And initially he just started just like that. But slowly he got so much of love to the goddess that he just started loving more and more of the goddess, which he used to refer as mother. And then to the extent that he almost became mad. He said every day in the evening he used to cry, saying, Mother, one more day has been wasted without having your vision. And he used to just go to the banks of the Ganges and just roll on the sand crying, saying that I have not had the vision, I have not had the vision, I have wasted one more day of my life. And to the extent that finally he could not even eat, he could not even sleep. That was how much yearning he had. And one day he became so, and everybody thought he's going mental, and they thought he should be removed from this priest business. But the Mathur Babu, as I said, the son-in-law, is so impressed with him, he said nothing like that. He will be our priest for this. And one day, and he used to spend time, even after the temple is closed, he used to be there. One day he was so desperate, he prayed to Mother, Mother, why are you not giving me your vision? Why can't I see you? Why can't I see you? And in that desperation, he said, I'm going to kill myself. And generally, the Kali idol will be such that one of the hands will be holding a sword. A big sword will be there. So he said, I'm going to kill myself. And he goes and lifts the sword to kill himself with the sword, because he thought his life is wasted without having the vision of the mother. And the moment he lifts it, then a divine light comes from the idol and enters him, and he becomes unconscious. Okay, that is when really this is how he started this. Then from then on there is no turning back, and he has completely given up. He has completely given himself to the mother, and so this is how the formative years happened. And next thing important is next 5 years. See, so far he had no formal teaching, and he never read any books because he doesn't like books. And so this is all whatever is coming from inside only. He's just following whatever he feels like. And as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher is sent. That is what happened in his life also. For example, this is when lot of people start coming to him. The first one is a lady called Bhairavi. Suddenly she just gets down from a boat, because those days boat was the easiest way to transportation. Okay, so she comes. She's a saint, around 34 years, and he's at that time around 20 years. So she gets down the temple. She gets down the boat and walks. And Ramakrishna Paramahansa sees her from her room and tells, go and bring her. He will tell his who is attending him, go and bring her. He said, why will she come? She is just coming to visit the temple. That's all. She doesn't know who he is. She walks in, but Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, go and tell her to come. Bring her to me. And this guy doesn't know why he is going to come. So anyway, he will go and tell her, Ramakrishna, the such and such wants you to come. So he will go and bring her. And the moment they see each other, they feel as if they have known each other forever. And apparently this lady had a dream in which she was told that your duty is to teach 3 people. And you will find them when the time comes. And she already met 2 of them and already taught them. So she was wondering where the 3rd person will be. And the moment she sees Ramakrishna, she knew he is the 3rd person that the divine had told in her vision. And but she is a more ritualistic person. So she starts teaching him rituals, how to do that. And he quickly learns and he quickly experiences the divinity, very quickly. And she herself is amazed that it took me so long to get to this stage, and this boy quickly got it. And to the extent that she came to stay only for a day, and she stays there on, she couldn't leave him anymore now after that. So she stays right there. For the next 1 year, she stays right there. So this is how the first teacher is sent. But this teacher was more about rituals. And then another teacher called Jatadhari, again he's not a teacher, he just comes. And generally the way in olden days it happens, they don't have motels and all that like today. For example, this temple had some rooms. So if some saint comes and wants to rest for some time, he can just be in one of those rooms. That's how it was. So this guy came just to rest, and he had a small idol, and he used to call it Ram Lala, means baby Ram, like Lord Rama, baby Ram, small idol. And this guy had, the guy who came, Jatadhari, this saint, had motherly affection for this Rama, because it's a baby Rama, and he used to be so affectionate, and he used to take him for a walk, and he used to feed him, he used to put him to sleep every day night. So he used to treat him just like baby Rama, and with so much devotion that Ramakrishna gets very impressed with this. I mean, how can you have such a motherly love towards this? And Ramakrishna Paramahansa, this is one thing we have to understand also. Once we notice something good, we must practice it. So what he does is he starts spending more time with this man, and he starts loving this person. It's an idol, small idol of baby Rama, small Rama. And then what happens is that he gets in love. Actually, he is able to see baby Rama, real person. And then that baby Rama actually comes along with him wherever he goes. Now he starts following Ramakrishna. Nobody else can see, only he can see. And he plays with him, he gets on his back, and he takes him to the swimming, and he scolds him, So Ramakrishna, as far as Ramakrishna Paramahansa is concerned, this baby Rama is real. And he feeds him, and he makes a lot of noise. He says, "Hey, why are you making noise? Be quiet, be quiet," he'll be telling that baby. And this goes on for some time, and he also develops so much of motherly love for this person. So first time he got the motherly love out of this. And then that other person finally gets the vision of Rama, and then he says, "I am leaving Ramlal with you." That is the boy with you, because boy means it's a vision, but a small idol, because he loves you so much. And meanwhile, I got a vision of Rama thanks to you. I don't need to be associated with this anymore. And because of this, during this process, he got the motherly love aspect of it. Okay? And so actually during this time, he used to act just like a woman, just like a lady he used to act. The way he used to talk, the way he used to walk, everything was like a woman. And then other thing is, we had another person. Again, this is where you will see how he has experienced every religion. One person by name Govind Roy comes, and he is a Sufi. He is a Hindu, but following Sufism, Muslim. And he says, "I will teach." And every time somebody comes and says, "I will teach," he will say, "Let me get permission from the mother." So he will run to the temple and ask mother, "Is it okay for me to learn?" Because he said, I have no command on myself. Everything mother has to tell. So he'll go and ask. If mother says yes, mother means the divine Kali mother, and he'll come back. He said yes, mother said yes. And again, and those 3 days, he acted just like a Muslim. He ate like a Muslim. And for example, being a Hindu, he was not eating meat and all that. But those 3 days, he dressed like them, and he ate meat just like what they eat. And he did not even enter the temple because he didn't feel, because he was so much engrossed with this. And he realized God through this path. And a similar thing happened also. What happens is that there is his devotee, one of his devotees, Shambhu Malik is his name. He's a Christian. And he used to just walk to his home or to the garden. From Ramakrishna used to walk to him. And he used to read Bible. And he used to go and listen to the Bible, which Malik used to read once a week. And he was so somehow he got very impressed with the life of Jesus, so much impressed with him that he just could not stop. So every day, even though the Malik is not there, he used to go to the garden, and in that room, just like this fellowship room, there were a lot of photos of Jesus. And what he liked the most was Virgin Mary sitting, and on her lap was baby Jesus. And that is the picture he liked the most. And he used to spend hours and hours just looking at the picture. And one day, actually a light came from the picture, both from the Jesus, baby Jesus, and Virgin Mary. A light had come and merged him, and he loses consciousness. And once that happens, when he goes back, of course, to the temple, Dakshineshwar, his mind was completely transformed, to the extent that he had nothing to do with Hinduism, he had nothing to do with Kali, nothing. He just spent life like a Christian. And all this happened for 3 days. Next 3 days he was completely a different person. And then suddenly when he was in the garden, he found a figure, a tall figure, a very bright man with a beard, approaching him. And as he was approaching, he suddenly realized it is nothing but Jesus Christ. And slowly the figure came, hugged him, and merged in him. And apparently that picture of, so he has that picture of baby Jesus and Virgin Mary is still in the temple. We didn't see it. So what you see is that Ramakrishna Paramahansa has actually not just read, he has actually literally practiced everything that was told to him and experienced divinity in all the paths, whether it was Hinduism ritualistic, or it was a Christianity, or it was Islam, it didn't matter. And that is why one of the big things he says is, it doesn't matter which path you take, you will realize God. And again, because of the time, I'm not going to say much, but I wanted to tell some of his message, because that's a very important thing. So first directive, the most directive he has is, first directive is, love of God is most important. Of all that we do in life, love of God is most important. Everything else follows it. And he said that service, social reforms, all that must come only after God realization. That is his biggest thing, he said. Unless you love God, there's. And second directive, he said, is live in the world with mind constantly on God. And in the sense, many of the householder devotees who used to go to him used to ask him questions. Sir, you are a renunciant, you have no responsibilities, so you can say all this, but what about us? We have a family, we have children, we have wife, we have to take care of all this, we have a job, what do we do? He said, it doesn't matter. Okay? Do your duties because you are a householder, but no matter whatever duty you are doing, have your mind on God and do your duty. And he used to give the example of mother. Suppose a small child is there and mother has to take care, the boy is in the room. Mother is working, still her mind is always on the boy. What is the child doing? Is the child okay or not? Her mind is always there, but she is working. So that is one of the things he's talked about. Always have mind on God, no matter what you do. And he said, this is a very important thing. To have God consciousness, get rid of shame, pride and fear. And he showed through a lot of examples that he had absolutely no shame. No shame is don't feel ashamed of anything. If you believe in something, just do it. And pride, of course, he said pride, when it comes to pride, he basically said people may have pride of wealth, pride of education. He said it's all useless. You must give up that. And he again practiced it. For example, he used to go and sit next to beggars and used to eat from their bowl. Just to prove he knows that he has pride of caste because he is from a Brahmin. He has a pride. He wants to get rid of it. So I have to get rid of it. So he used to go next to the beggars and eat from their plates. So all this have to be, I know it's already time, but let me just, this is important. Again, as I said, God can be experienced through any religion or path, no matter how different they appear. And this is a very important thing. He did not want people to argue about God. No argument about God, because God cannot be argued about. And for example, some people say formful, some people are idol worshippers, some say no, there is only one God, He is universal God, there is no form He takes. He said all these are fine, nothing is wrong with any of them. And he said that no need to know everything about God, just a minute knowledge of Him is sufficient for you to enjoy Him. So, because most of us will say, well, I know about this, what about that, does he know this? He said, don't waste your time, just know a little bit and enjoy the rest, enjoy Him. And he, of course, just like Jesus, he said, be like a child. And because children are unattached, and in the sense, and children are innocent, and they are always in present moment, and they give importance to the mother. For example, no matter what you give, the moment they see that the mother has gone for a long time, they start crying. They give up everything and they want only mother. He said, that is how your longing should be for God. It doesn't matter what you have. Don't ask for everything. Ask only for God. And last but least, not the least, he said, so long as tears do not come from your eyes at repeating the God's name, continue with the rituals. But the moment you get tears, the moment you take a divine name and you start having tears, stop all the rituals. No need for rituals anymore. Okay? And I know I could share many more, but however, due to time, I'm going to stop it. And thank you very much for the opportunity for me to share with you. But again, as I said, Ramakrishna Paramahansa's life is really great. An illiterate who has not read any books, has no teachers, but God sent him everything. God sent him everything. God sent him the protectors, the providers through the rich lady, Rani Rasamani, and God sent all the teachers. And most importantly, he practiced whatever that was taught. He practiced. And he realized God through any path just within 3 days because of his concentration. So I think what I have learned from this is that probably the practice is the most important thing, and love of God is the most important of all the things that we do. Love God, love God, love God. Thank you very much.